All right, welcome. We're doing a quick catch up on the PIFG, Pacific Island Fisheries Group tagging. We're here with Dan, and I'm going to let Dan introduce himself. My name's Alex Min, and we're going to give you a quick update. Go for it, Dan.
Hey, I'm Dan. I live in South Kona and I've been tagging fish for a few years now.
Awesome. Thanks for joining us, Dan. We know you made it into the recent Levia magazine, so really nice fish in there. But really want to start with how did you get involved in tagging and how did that start for you?
Yeah, I do a lot of catch and release. I'll keep select fish here and there, but I wanted if I'm just gonna catch and release, I kind of wanted to do something more as well, and also have the opportunity to see if anybody else is catching the same fish and seeing how far they go.
Yeah, nice. And I know one thing that really interested us was you recently had a recovery of a fish. So, a fish that you tagged yourself. So, can you tell us kind of the story about that fish?
Yeah, that fish was actually pretty crazy because I um I had caught it roughly 8 months ago. Um, and I was just using like a little micro jig at the time, which I had a goatfish on there, and when I brought the goatfish up, there was a papio just swarming around it, and so I just kind of took my phone out and I was recording the papio, and it ended up just taking the jig right out of the goatfish's mouth, and I ended up catching the papio and tagging it, and then several months later, I was just throwing a grub and I had a papio come in right at the feet and try to grab the grub as I lifted it out. So I slapped it back down on the water and it just
Yeah.
inhaled it right at that moment. And so just a super aggressive fish. And when I brought it up, I saw the tag and I didn't know at the time. And I ended up keeping the fish that time and confirming that it was my tag from
No
8 months.
way. That's amazing. Did you notice any difference in the fish? Did it grow some, you think, or?
It definitely grew. I don't know exactly how much, but
Yeah.
definitely bigger from the previous video and pictures I had taken of it. But it hadn't moved more than about half mile down the shoreline from where I'd previously captured it.
Wow, that's super cool. And a great story. I don't know how many recaptures from the same person we have, but that's a pretty wild story, and we'll include some pictures of that. In terms of kind of how you tag, can you just walk us through kind of what you do when you capture the fish and go through the tagging process, and then how you put it back in the ocean? Because you're
Yeah,
obviously doing something right.
yeah, yeah. So typically, I pull the fish out of the water and make the decision whether I'm going to keep it or release it. And I usually choose to release it. So I usually find like a nearby tide pool or something like that, and I'll lay the fish in there and get the measurement. And then let it rest in there for a second while I tag it. And when it looks like it's good and lively again, I'll drop them right back in the water, and hopefully they swim away nice and fresh, which they typically do.
Yeah. Awesome. Yeah, and that's a great testament to your tagging. So we're hoping to see a few more of your tags pop up here in the next few years.
Yeah,
You did make celebrity status and get featured in Levia 41, issue number 41 for your 47-inch, 70-pound bruiser Alua. Can you tell us about that and how you captured that fish and how the fight was?
oh, it was nuts. I was out fishing with my friend Eric, and we kind of tried a couple spots, and it was a little touch high tide for the rock that we wanted to be out on, so we switched spots a little late in the day. I was kind of salty about it. I really wanted to fish one spot, so we ended up moving. And a few casts later, I didn't even see the popper. Like there was no bust up or explosion. Just sucked underwater and just running and running and running. And
Wow.
I was on my backup reel, so I didn't have super high expectations, and I didn't even know it was that big at the time. When it came in, it was so long. I thought it was a shark or something. And it took a lot of work to. We were kind of up a little bit elevated. We didn't have any
Mm,
kind of landing apparatus, so we just kind of waited for the waves to come up and work the fish around the rocks until we could to get. Took both of us to pull them up, and it
yeah.
also took both of us to release
Mhm.
after we tagged it. It was so heavy.
Yeah.
Definitely took two of us to lift up for a picture.
That's fantastic. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's a fish of a lifetime. I'm looking forward to hearing about the 100-pounder someday soon.
Good dream.
Yeah, we all dream, right? Um, you also mentioned so you were using a popper. I see it in the article. Is that kind of your preferred method of fishing out in Kona?
Yeah, definitely. I've slide bait a couple of times, but I'm pretty awful at it. Had some luck on a jig, but my success rate's pretty low. So poppers are definitely the most exciting if you're
Yeah,
patient enough to go
yeah,
out 15 times with no bites.
yeah,
I am.
yeah. That's awesome. And then you mentioned maybe a memorable experience. You mentioned you hooked a pelagic recently. Can you tell
Yeah, it
us
was
that story?
about a year ago. Same thing using a popper, and it was a little bit after sunset, getting pretty dark, and my buddy said, "Oh, I'm gonna pack up," and he's like, "Oh, go ahead and take a few more casts." And sure enough, got smashed on the popper, and a few pretty crazy runs. And he asked what it was. I was like, "Oh, I think it's kind of a medium sized Zulua," and then it just started screaming down again. He's like, "Oh, I don't know, maybe not."
Wow.
And we get it pretty close, and it's dark by this point. So in our headlamps, we see the yellow sickles, and we're both like, "Oh shoot, that's an ahi!" And so it was pretty terrifying because my buddy David, he works on a charter boat, so I trust him more than anybody else to land a fish for me. And right as we're about to pull it up, the leader busted, and
What?
yeah, not within 2 seconds, he launches into the water and just bear hugs the fish, and
No way.
yeah, ended up helping him and the fish up. And I know I can't believe how quick he was to hop in the water in the dark, but man, I'm thankful for that
Wow.
every day I think about it.
Wow. How much did that fish weigh? And I'm gonna guess it wasn't released.
No, that was definitely poke for everybody involved.
Yeah.
It was probably roughly 40 pounds or so. Uh,
Wow.
didn't get a measurement or a weight.
Yeah.
Just wanted to get him home and keep him nice and cold until we cleaned him.
Oh, that's awesome. What
Yeah,
a cool experience, and good job by your friend to act quickly and make it
yeah,
happen for
I
you.
appreciate it so much.
Yeah. For people interested in getting involved in tagging, is there any advice you might offer just in general based on your experience over the past few years?
It's just fun. Like, it gives you if you just want to get out there and catch and release some fish, if you can put them back with a tag in them, can collect more information for everybody. And it's kind of like a little Easter egg. If you catch one with a tag, it's cool. But definitely recommend it. It's a good fun. You don't have to keep every fish. If you get some small ones, it's fun to tag them, and hopefully you catch them again and see how much they've grown.
Mhm.
So yeah, all I
Awesome.
can say is it's part of the fun of catching the fish. I love to tag them and release
Yeah.
them.
Fantastic. No, thank you, Dan, and thanks for supporting Pacific Island Fisheries Group and the overall Hawaii fisheries with your work in tagging. So appreciate your time and look forward to hearing some more crazy stories here in the future.
Yeah, of course. Hopefully I got some to come this year. Who knows?
Awesome. Thanks, Dan.
Welcome.